Good afternoon. My name is Pastor Mark Manning, and I'm talking to you from Glenwood Lutheran Church on this beautiful, finally spring day. Last week at this time, we were dealing with snow, and here we are. Much of it is gone, and spring is in the air, as is Easter. I want to read to you from our Sunday lesson from Acts. Chapter 2, verse 14. But Peter, standing with the 11, raised his voice and addressed them. You that are Israelites, listen to what I have to say. Jesus of Nazareth, a man attested to you by God with deeds of power, wonders and signs that God did through him among you, as you yourselves know. This man handed over to you, according to the definite plan and foreknowledge of God, you crucified and killed by the hands of those outside the law. But God raised him up, having freed him from death, because it was impossible for him to be held in its power. Peter was pretty audacious in standing up before the Jewish leaders to say that, essentially telling them that they were the reason Jesus died, even though it was God's plan. And yet at the same time, I'm reminded as I hear this condemnation by Peter of the Jews, of a recent commercial I've seen several times on the station that we tune in off to. It's the Peacock station, and it's something like this. It's two houses next to each other, and a woman coming out with her daughter, and they stop and they look at their garage, and there's a man next door who's working on his car. Kind of an average Joe. He's got his head underneath the hood doing something. The woman quickly grabs her daughter, and they said, "Get in the car," and they leave. And then the man goes over to see what it is they were looking at, and on their garage door there's a swastika, spray painted, and the words "No Jews." The next scene is the woman coming back. The words are gone. She looks at him working on his car. And she notices white paint on his boots. That's the end. And then there's a brief tagline that talks about anti-Semitic violence in the United States. It's really important as what we hear about Peter speaking to the Jews, his best understanding of their part in Jesus' death, that he understands himself to be speaking to God's people. And he is one of them. He believes Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and he believes that Jesus' death as the Messiah, the Son of God, is part of God's plan, but he's nonetheless speaking to God's people. A covenant that was made with Abraham and all of Abraham's heirs. It's important as we sort out these texts that we hear about in Acts now during Easter, about how the word spreads and how it interacts with that Jewish world, that Jews are still seen as God's people, and that we look on them accordingly.